The investigation into the mysterious death of Nolan Wells has entered a completely new phase tonight, and the latest developments are raising even more difficult questions than before. Fresh evidence, conflicting statements, and new revelations have shifted the focus of this case in ways few expected. We're going to break down everything that's happened, separate confirmed facts from speculation, and explain where the investigation stands at this moment. Nolan Wells' family has now taken major legal steps. Investigators are facing renewed scrutiny, and new information surrounding Nolan's final hours is creating serious inconsistencies that still have no clear explanation. Two different accounts of the same final conversation now point in opposite directions, while questions surrounding Nolan's phone continue to grow. If you've been following this story, you already know why so many people are watching closely. If you're just joining us, here's what happened. 18-year-old Nolan Wells, a football player at Southwest Mississippi Community College, traveled to Horn Island on the 4th of July with friends for what was supposed to be a day of celebration. The isolated island, located off Mississippi's Gulf Coast and accessible only by boat, quickly became the center of a heartbreaking mystery. According to investigators, Nolan was last seen during the afternoon near the island's northwest shoreline after speaking with a young woman. His friends later departed the island, believing he intended to return with another group. When he never made it home, an extensive search began involving local deputies, federal agencies, the Coast Guard, and volunteer rescue teams. Days later, search efforts came to a devastating end when a National Park Service ranger located Nolan's body in the waters near the same area where he had last been seen. His family soon confirmed the tragic identification. That discovery answered one question, but it opened many more. Since then, every new development has only added another layer of uncertainty to an investigation that continues to leave both Nolan's family and the public searching for answers. The morning of July 4th began like countless other summer holidays along Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Families prepared cookouts, beaches filled with visitors, and groups of friends headed toward the water to celebrate Independence Day. Among them was 18-year-old Nolan Wells, a recent high school graduate looking forward to the next chapter of his life. By every public account, the outing to Horn Island was expected to be another carefree day with friends. No one imagined it would become the center of a mystery that would soon attract statewide attention and eventually spark national headlines. Horn Island is beautiful, but it is also isolated. Part of the Gulf Island's national seashore, it sits miles from the mainland, surrounded by open water and changing weather conditions. Visitors often describe it as peaceful, with long stretches of untouched shoreline and very few permanent facilities. That isolation, however, can quickly become dangerous when something unexpected happens. Once boats leave the island, help is never just a few steps away. According to statements released by investigators and comments made publicly by people connected to the case, Nolan traveled to the island with a group of friends during the holiday. At some point that afternoon, events unfolded that remain at the heart of the investigation. Members of the group later reported that Nolan stayed behind on the island while they departed after experiencing mechanical trouble with their boat. Exactly how that decision was made, what conversations occurred beforehand, and whether everyone understood the plan have become some of the most closely examined questions in the case. When Nolan did not return home, concern quickly turned into an urgent search. Family members, volunteers, law enforcement officers, and marine units began looking across the barrier island and surrounding waters. Search aircraft scanned the coastline while boats combed nearby channels. Every passing hour intensified the family's fear as hope battled uncertainty. Days later, search crews made the discovery everyone had dreaded. Nolan's body was found near Horn Island, bringing the search to a heartbreaking end but opening a far more complicated investigation. Authorities confirmed the recovery and began working to determine exactly how he died. Even as condolences poured in from across Mississippi, investigators emphasized that many critical questions still required careful examination before any final conclusions could be reached. As news of the tragedy spread, social media amplified both sympathy and speculation. Countless posts attempted to reconstruct Nolan's final hours, often relying on incomplete information or anonymous claims. Rumors circulated faster than official updates, creating an atmosphere where fact and assumption became increasingly difficult to separate. Investigators repeatedly encouraged the public to rely on confirmed information rather than online theories, reminding everyone that determining what happened would require evidence instead of speculation. For Nolan's family, the public attention changed nothing about their personal loss. They were mourning a son, a brother, and a young man whose future had only begun to unfold. While investigators continued gathering evidence and waiting for forensic results, the family searched for clarity, hoping that every unanswered question would eventually receive a truthful answer. The investigation was only beginning, and the developments that followed would transform a local tragedy into one of the most closely watched cases on the Gulf Coast. The investigation entered a new phase as Nolan's family made it clear they intended to pursue every available avenue for answers. While authorities continued their work, the family announced they had retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump, a decision that immediately drew national attention because of his involvement in several high-profile cases across the United States. His appearance signaled that the family wanted an independent review of the circumstances surrounding Nolan's death, rather than relying solely on the official investigation. Alongside that announcement came another significant development. The family confirmed plans for an independent autopsy in addition to the examination already conducted by the state medical examiner. Although it is not uncommon for families to request a second opinion after an unexpected death, the decision underscored their determination to compare findings from separate medical experts. Crump explained publicly that the independent review was intended to provide the family with its own assessment while official testing, including toxicology analysis, continued through normal procedures. Medical examinations often take time, particularly when laboratory testing is involved. Toxicology reports can require weeks before results are finalized, leaving families waiting during one of the most difficult periods imaginable. That delay can also fuel public speculation, especially in cases receiving widespread media attention. Investigators cautioned that no conclusions should be drawn before all available evidence had been carefully reviewed, emphasizing that the investigation remained active. Meanwhile, public discussion increasingly focused on the people who had spent part of the holiday with Nolan. Questions emerged about the timeline of the afternoon, the sequence of events before the group left Horn Island, and the circumstances surrounding the boat's reported mechanical problems. None of those questions automatically suggested criminal wrongdoing, but they became central topics as investigators worked to establish a complete chronology. One of the most widely discussed developments came when Chancery Judge Ashley Cole, whose son had been among the young people on the island that day, released a public statement. She expressed sympathy for Nolan's family and described the emotional toll the situation had taken on everyone connected to the tragedy. She also addressed online speculation that had spread rapidly across social media, explaining that her family had cooperated with investigators and denying any effort to interfere with the investigation. Her statement included details about the reported timeline, explaining that the group left after experiencing difficulties with their boat and that Nolan remained on the island. Those remarks became part of the broader public conversation, though investigators continued relying on witness interviews, physical evidence, and forensic findings rather than public statements alone. At the same time, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office expanded its appeal for assistance. Investigators asked anyone who had visited Horn Island during the Independence Day holiday to submit original photographs or videos that might help establish movements, locations, or interactions throughout the afternoon. Officials stressed that even images appearing unrelated could contain valuable background details capable of strengthening the overall timeline. Investigators also confirmed that Horn Island does not have surveillance cameras, making personal recordings from visitors especially important. Every photograph, cell phone video, and eyewitness account represented another potential piece of the puzzle. As detectives continued reviewing evidence, the central objective remained unchanged: reconstruct the final hours of Nolan Wells' life as accurately and objectively as possible, regardless of where that evidence ultimately led. As investigators continued examining evidence, another development intensified public interest in the case. During media interviews, Attorney Ben Crump said the family had discovered that Nolan's cell phone had been returned with deleted messages. The statement immediately generated widespread discussion because it introduced a new question into an investigation that already contained many unknowns. At that stage, however, neither investigators nor independent forensic experts had publicly released findings explaining when the messages were deleted, who deleted them, or whether they could ultimately be recovered through forensic analysis. Digital evidence has become an increasingly important part of modern criminal investigations. Depending on the device, operating system, cloud backups, and the amount of time that has passed, specialists can sometimes recover deleted information using forensic extraction techniques. Whether that is possible depends on the condition of the device and numerous technical factors. For that reason, investigators generally avoid drawing conclusions until qualified examiners complete a detailed review of the phone and any associated digital accounts. Crump also described what he characterized as conflicting accounts surrounding Nolan's final known movements on Horn Island. According to his public statements, one account suggested Nolan intended to return to the boat, while another indicated he planned to remain on the island longer. Those reported differences became another focus of public attention because investigators routinely compare witness statements to determine where memories align and where they differ. Conflicting recollections do not automatically establish deception. They can also result from stress, confusion, or people observing the same event from different perspectives. Determining which details are supported by objective evidence remains one of the primary responsibilities of investigators. While those questions remained unresolved, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office continued emphasizing that the investigation was active. Officials repeatedly encouraged anyone with first-hand information, photographs, or videos from July 4th to contact investigators directly. They also stated publicly that they had not announced evidence confirming foul play, while making clear that the investigation would continue until all available evidence had been evaluated. Beyond the investigation itself, Nolan's family faced another challenge as false information spread online. Artificial intelligence-generated videos and fabricated social media posts began circulating, presenting fictional claims as though they were genuine statements from family members. Nolan's mother publicly rejected those videos, urging people not to share misinformation during an already devastating time. The incident highlighted a growing problem facing many high-profile investigations, where manipulated content can spread faster than verified facts and complicate public understanding of an ongoing case. National attention continued to grow as elected officials, community leaders, and civil rights organizations expressed support for Nolan's family and called for a thorough, transparent investigation. Yet despite the headlines, interviews, and countless online discussions, the central questions remained remarkably simple. What exactly happened during Nolan's final hours? Do the available witness statements tell the complete story? Will forensic examinations provide answers that eyewitness accounts cannot? Those answers will ultimately depend not on rumors or speculation, but on evidence carefully collected, tested, and verified. Until investigators complete that work, every public statement represents only one part of a much larger picture. For Nolan's loved ones, the hope remains that the investigation will replace uncertainty with facts and provide the clarity they have sought since the day a holiday gathering turned into an unimaginable tragedy. However long that process takes, the search for the truth continues. As this investigation continues to develop, we'll keep following every confirmed update, every official statement, and every verified finding as they become available. We'll separate documented facts from online speculation and bring you new information only after it's been responsibly reported. If you found this coverage helpful, consider subscribing to Court of Secrets so you don't miss future updates on Nolan Wells' case and other in-depth true crime investigations. Thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next video.